Alright, so we are home because of coronavirus stuff, and we want to do an art project. So last week we made a little stuffed cat, but I had this old bed sheet. It's just flannel, like some kind of flannel bed sheet, and it's green. So we thought, let's make a stuffed cactus. So I've got little dude here helping me out, and we're just going to take this and kind of spread it out evenly, lay it out flat, just so we don't use the very middle of this. We'll work towards one of the edges, and we just want to double the fabric up. So this is just kind of quick and dirty type stuff, but we want a nice big flat area to work with here. And then you want to use like a fabric pencil or fabric marker, or preferably something that would like wash out. You could use chalk if you had like sidewalk chalk. This is just a special pencil, water soluble marking pencil for sewing, but you want to draw out your pattern. So one thing you need to remember is, you've typically got a cactus that has a stem up from the ground, and then one arm and another arm that curves up, and whatever width you make those arms and the stalk, that's going to be cut down as you start to take that flat piece and fill it out into a three-dimensional shape. So if you want to get a specific size, you can use like a piece of string or something and make it a circle about the size you want. It's a terrible circle. But just kind of get a rough shape. So if we want to stalk that size, we know we need to take half of that, and so that needs to be how wide our base is before we stuff it. So we would have to have a base this wide, going all the way up, and then add in for our arms and stuff too. So that'll kind of give you a ballpark. But I'm just going to eyeball this, and I'm just kidding. Mr. Sneezy over here. I'm just going to eyeball this and kind of sketch some stuff out. I'm not going to do it quite as big as I just showed, but and I don't know if you'll be able to see this at all. And then just to make it easier to handle, I'll probably just cut out this section so we can run it through the sewing machine. Okay, so you can see we just got this little section cut out. You could do this out of like t-shirts, old t-shirts or anything that you have a large enough piece of fabric. So again, we just have 2 layers. And if your fabric has an obvious right side or wrong side, you'll want to do this with the wrong sides facing out, where the pretty sides are facing each other, because we're going to turn this inside out after we sew it. Okay, so I'm all positioned. Got my sewing machine ready. I just have some black thread in here. If necessary, use a color appropriate thread. This is just kind of a fun little thing, so I'm not too concerned with thread color. So I'm going to start down close to my opening. And because I don't want to do my final hand stitching across a big wide gap, I'm only going to leave about 2 or 3 inches to stuff through. So I'll just drop that. I'm going to do a stitch length of about 3 millimeters and just a regular straight stitch. So I'm going to go a few stitches and then reverse it just to lock that in, because as we're stuffing it, those stitches will want to pull apart otherwise. I'm at the end, did a few back stitches, and I can go ahead and get it out of the machine. Alright, now that we've got it all stitched, it's hard to see in the camera. Yes. So now we need to cut this out. So we're basically just needing to remove any excess fabric. So you want to leave about 1/4 of an inch on the outside of your stitch. Down at the bottom where your opening is, where you're going to stuff it, you want to leave a little bit more just so you have some to tuck it up in there. But I'm just going to cut off about 1 inch at the bottom. We can always trim it off later. And then I'm just going to come up around and just leave about 1/4 inch. The good thing about doing a cactus, or just about anything, is it doesn't have to be perfect, because cactuses aren't a perfect shape. They're all a little irregular. There we go. There is our cactus cut out. Does it look like a cactus? So now we got to turn it all inside out. So this is kind of one of the more challenging parts, because you got to get all this fabric through this little hole at the bottom. Alright, so we're turned inside out. You can see with how wide it was versus what we end up with after it's turned. It got a little narrower. So we've got our opening down here in the end, and now we're just going to take some old pillow stuffing. Just got a bunch of a trash bag down here, and we're just going to start stuffing it in here. So it's usually easier to work with little pieces because you got to get it in through the hole. if you had a slippery fabric, this would go pretty quickly, but this flannel kind of grabs onto this stuffing. So it'll take a little while to stuff this one, but we'll get it stuffed up and come back. Okay, so there we go. It is stuffed. We got a little lumpy, but that's all right. Down here at the bottom where our opening is, I tried to overstuff it a little bit, and I tried to really compact in as much stuffing as I could right here at the bottom. That way it gives me kind of some slack fabric close to the opening. You can kind of tell here my stitching was actually starting to come out. Even though I backstitched, it was still starting to separate. So, you know, if you keep pulling, that could potentially open all the way up. That's why you want to make sure you do a good backstitch close to your opening. So I've got this stuff down in here as much as I can so that I can kind of close up my opening at the bottom. I'm going to trim off some of this excess fabric. Not too much. Still want to leave roughly about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And now I can kind of fold these in on each other. And I will pin them. So I'm going to attempt to sew this on my machine, but if I don't have enough room to get this big thickness in here, your other option would be to hand stitch it, and I would suggest what's called a blanket stitch. So it's basically just needle through, and you go around and around and around and around, and just work your way all the way down. Just space your stitches accordingly, and just blanket stitch that all the way across. You know, tie some good knots so they don't come out, and then. But I'm going to try to do this on the machine. Alright, so not the best stitch job down there, but it looks like it's closed. I can pull it a little bit, and there's no holes that are opening up, so I'll just trim off my loose threads here. And now I can work some of this compressed stuffing down into the bottom. So ideally you'd want to do, you know, your opening and your closed stitch somewhere that's not real noticeable. All right, so there we go, a stuffed cactus. A little lumpy, but you can just kind of work the stuffing around just to even it out. And now my little dude is going to take some fabric markers, and I don't know, he's got plans. He's not sure what he's going to do, draw a face or not sure what, but we have a stuffed cactus. Quick, fun project, and can be made from just about any scrap fabric, old bed sheets, old pillowcases, old t-shirts, you know, just about anything. So that's it. Hope you guys like this one. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And until next time, we'll catch you later.